racing faces the same challenge across the world, and that is to grow its fan base. And it's quite evident that television is the most powerful tool to do that. My first question is to you, Gary Burns, having been experienced with TVN in Australia, presenting Australian thoroughbred racing to the audience there, but also in other sport as well, and you've gone back into that more mainstream arena. But from your racing experience, Gary, and dealing with race clubs and the different politics that prevail in Australia, are they the challenges for Australia going forward? How do we improve racing television in Australia more immediately?
Yeah, very much so. You're talking about a sport with a number of governing bodies. Some of those have been merged recently, which is a good thing. It probably needs a national racing commission of some sort, I think, Australia. It's just too many committees, and it becomes very frustrating. Everyone has their own agenda. You're not talking about a national product in the way it should be, and therefore you don't have a governing body to go to. You have a bunch of individual governing bodies to go to for everything you wish to do as far as television's coverage is concerned, to a degree. And then, of course, you have stewards as well, which are there to take care of safety, and as they should be. Yes, it's frustrating dealing with race club committees, and that it does restrict what television can do for the sport.
Boonah, for you it's a different case, and you're constantly able to research and investigate potential of improving the racing coverage here, and the pressure is really on the Jockey Club now more than ever before, because the racing here is being seen by a wider audience globally, particularly in Australia and now also the United States.
Well, from a TV producer's point of view, we are actually very well equipped in capturing the excitement. However, the behavior, as I just said, of the audience is very different. They could never be satisfied by just sitting there and watch the races. So like the rig cam that is used to provide kind of like what the industrial people said, the POV shot is really important. But it's very difficult to convince racing stewards to allow you to install cameras on safety helmets, because we also recently tested the Google camera by actually having a camera on their goggles. And there are safety issues that you have to get through to provide those type of participating experience of kind of like a horse racing and equine sports. It's much easier because we actually look at how the rig cam is being used in Formula One and other sports, because they mount a camera behind the car. It's much more easier to get the permission to do so. But when you want to mount something, for example, like I try on barrier trials to mount a camera on the horse neck to have a POV shot of the jockey. Not POV shot of the jockey, but a reverse angle shot of the jockey riding the horse. It's not easy to get permission, but it can be understood. I mean, from the TV producer's point of view, we always want to have alternative angles, and we all also want to have more money too. But first of all, you have to consider the safety issue, and then get the endorsement from Racing Control to mount things on horses and jockeys. So we actually mount a lot of different cameras on the starting gate. And then you also have to have the industry's understanding that the technology is moving much faster than regulation is being prepared and endorsed. So we are trying our best to work on both sides to balance the requirement from the customers, from the viewers, and also the concern from the racing industry. So I'm actually kind of wearing two hats. I'm moving much faster than a lot of sports coverage. And then in Hong Kong, because you do not have any TV stations in Hong Kong that performs R&D for sports TV coverage, because there is actually, other than horse racing, there is no major sports happening in Hong Kong that demands that type of intensive live coverage. So we have to be able to understand and acquire the technology while we have to work with the constraint and the understanding of the racing industry. You have to actually balance the two. And then sometimes I wear kind of like a technology hat to argue with the racing control, and sometimes I have to stand on the other side to argue with my team what cannot be done on track. So you really have to balance that out. And also budget is another issue. We always have to think about cost efficiency when you actually implement a technology, and then the sustainability of that particular piece of equipment too.
So regulatory constraints in racing are thwarting the progress a little bit. One final question from me to you, Jörg, is are any racing jurisdictions around the world talking to you at the moment about embracing some of the amazing technology that you showed us earlier?
Not from the horse racing industry. As I said previously, we've been testing with the Hong Kong Jockey Club, and now that we've moved into HD technology, that's certainly going to be, I think, another point where we can go forward. But also when we do it with skiing, in skiing, for instance, has been a big issue with the safety helmets, and there was a helmet producer who offered to integrate the camera into the helmet, actually. But for the time being, having it in the goggle belt is probably the best solution we can offer, because virtually there you have no impact. Even if something happens, there will be no effect. And you see that the devices become more and more miniature. So I think, well, I mean, it's not for me to decide, obviously, but I think the impact of such miniature devices is absolutely minimal. But that's for the stewards really to decide.